going to this topic, do you care about the NBA in-season tournament?
Yeah, yes and no. Am I sitting down to watch it? No. Cavs, yes. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Am I sitting down to watch other teams outside of the Cavs? No. Am I sitting down to watch the Cavs play in it? Yes. I do kind of like. I feel like we're seeing different styles of basketball this season because, and actually, I had this conversation at work yesterday, Mitch. People did not know it's $500,000 per player and coach. There's people out there who thought it was $500,000 for the team, and you split that up amongst everybody. No, $500,000 per person on that team and staff. That's a lot of money. Okay, like look at Craig Porter, who, by the way, stud. That is over double of what he's going to make this year. That's a lot of money, and he's not. I'm using him as an example because there's guys on every single NBA roster that are in his spot or are on lesser guaranteed contracts that they need that money because it is life-changing money. It is. And so it's been interesting because I look at a team like the Indiana Pacers and I look at who their coach is in Rick Carlisle. And he was in Dallas for so long and so successful playing a certain way. It's almost like Rick Carlisle said, you know what? I'm going to be your coach. I'm going to insert myself here, but this is our strength here of run and gun pretty much. I mean, this team is putting up ungodly numbers offensively. They had 136 points in a game, in a season tournament game. Then you look at other teams that are just playing their style of basketball, like the Lakers. It's interesting. My issue actually goes with what Darius Garland spoke on the other night after the game against the Hawks. For those that aren't aware, there's groups A, B, and C in the East and West. That's 6 teams right there, and there's a wild card team from each. The wild card tiebreaker is points scored. And so the Cavs actually cost themselves a shot when they played Detroit earlier in the in-season tournament games because Detroit came back in that game and made it closer, and the Cavs started to rest some guys. But then the other night, they had to beat the Hawks, but they also had to run up the score. And you heard Darius Garland after the game say, like, I don't like that. I don't like having to run up the score. It's not part of who I am. Like, yes, you want to win, but that game was in full control.
Sure.
But I also don't like it because if this isn't an in-season tournament game, right, and it's just the Atlanta Hawks, our guys are out of that game way earlier than what they were, and you decrease the risk of injury. We haven't seen anybody yet, knocking on wood, go down, but I guess the thing is it's an even playing field for everybody because all the teams can do that. But at the same time, you do know, we've seen it before, in non-NBA in-season tournament games, when teams try to run up the score, other teams do not take kindly to that. And that's when you have scuffles the next time you play teams. It's when you have hard fouls. I don't know. It's the first year for it. I'm not going to sit here and say I hate it. I'm not going to sit here and say I love it. I want to see it through. I think there's obviously a few things they can change and make better already.
What things do you think they should change?
I just think that maybe you need to make it. So it's 4 games you play, correct?
Yes. Pool games.
Okay. Maybe you make it 8. Maybe you play both teams home and away. Maybe that's more fair. You take out the whole running up the score thing. But you know why the NBA is not going to do that? Because points are fun. Scoring points are fun. A lot of points, a lot of makes are fun. It's going to get viewership up. It's tough to say. I just think that's one thing you could do. I think it'd make it more fair to play both the Pacers at home and away in the in-season tournament atmosphere. We know we're going to play the Pacers again, but not in the in-season tournament aspect because they're in our division. We'll see it through. We will see it through. I'm intrigued to see how this works. I know the first round team hosts at their place before they go to Vegas, or is it just the last 2 teams go to Vegas? I'm not sure.
The final 3 in-season tournament games will be in Las Vegas this coming week. So yeah, it's that's kind of where I'm at. I need to see the actual tournament before I make a full judgment on this season. Because this year so far, it's been like, okay, if you're going to have something instead of just boring regular season games, then fine. But nothing that has been generated from, or very little from this tournament that has been generated from the in terms of stories, like let's say, I don't know, the Kings making that comeback on Golden State, or what's his name explaining why they had to have a technical foul against in that Boston matchup because they had to like get the point differential the necessary. That's I'm not getting it. I'm not intrigued by that. I would much rather have it be like, okay, let's take the records at like a certain point of the season and just have these teams play a single elimination tournament in, it could even be at like the first couple of rounds could be at a home team's location and then the final four is in Vegas. But we can't really do that at the midseason point because we have the All-Star break. So we can't really do it at the quarter mark of the season because really that's just adding on to the year and like what would be what's 3 or 4 more games. But then you're also adding all these other in regular season games. So like teams are going to have more wins on their record than other teams will. That's where it gets confusing to me, and then I just got to figure that out. That's on me. I got to figure it out myself. I'm just like, all right, it's a game. It's not for the actual championship itself. It's for the NBA Cup, which they're trying to make into this big thing. And I can see some teams maybe being like, oh, if they're either struggling early on in the year or they're a team that's not expected to win as much as other teams are, and you make a run like this in the tournament, maybe that can jumpstart you into a big part of the latter portion of the season where you start to feel like you're more competitive. You can actually start competing against some of these teams. But I don't know. I'm not sold. I'm not completely sold on this yet. I think it's more so because this is the first time in any American professional sports that we're trying something like this in the regular season. Obviously, international soccer or football has stuff like this before. So it's Greek to me essentially. No, I mean, I'm jury's still out, but I'm still not holding up it too much.